In the automotive landscape, there are a plethora of luxury brands to choose from. However, one brand has kind of always stood above the more plebeian offerings, and that's Rolls Royce. For over a century, Rolls Royce has been chauffeuring the most powerful and most wealthiest people across the globe. And today they've built a car that nobody in the world thought they would actually build. Meet the 2019 Rolls Royce Cullinan. Named after the largest diamond ever mined in the world, befitting of a name since the Cullinan is one of the largest vehicles that the company has ever produced. And they claim this is every bit a Rolls Royce because it rides on the same architecture of luxury platform that underpins the Phantom flagship sedan. So the big question I want answered, if you guys are looking for the ultimate in luxury, now in an SUV form, should you be calling up your chauffeur to have him take you to your local Rolls Royce dealership? That's what we're here to find out. So it's not so often that I get to review a Rolls Royce on the channel, and to be honest, I don't have much experience with this car brand. The last one I reviewed was about 3 years ago. It was a Ghost Black Badge, and it was a car that really overwhelmed me. Now, Rolls Royce, or the Cullinan for Rolls Royce, has been in hot demand since this car came out. Dealers apparently can't keep them in stock, and it's pretty easy to see why. This is a car that has a serious amount of presence to it when you look at it from the front fascia, really from any angle. I mean, you have the traditional styling elements here of a Rolls Royce. The Parthenon grille is front and center. It's a massive grille that has these very hefty metal slats in between them. It's a really pretty looking grille with all the chrome bling. The Spirit of Ecstasy emblem, hood ornament, is standing tall and proud. And in case you guys are wondering, if you're parked in the hood and somebody tries to yank your hood ornament off, this thing will actually make itself go down and protect itself from somebody stealing it after a few tries. So it's a really nice, cool safety feature, and this is what you're gonna be staring at when you're driving this car, which we'll go into the test drive later on. Now, the Cullinan, because it's so bloody expensive, will come standard with the company's full LED headlights with the laser light technology. If the laser light sounds familiar, that's because, remember, Rolls-Royce is owned by parent company BMW. It really has a traditional Rolls-Royce look to it. These blacked out headlights, no fog lights. Instead, you have all these functional air intakes and a little more chrome. Now, if you guys are wondering how much this car costs, I'm gonna get to that, but I will tell you that this bespoke gray color is the most expensive option that this car has at $11,925. I could buy a used car at that price, but hey, this is a Rolls Royce. The color is the least part of your concern in terms of options. Now, looking at the rest of the profile of the Cullinan, don't even think to say that this is sharing a platform with the BMW X7 because it rides, as I said, on the same platform as the Phantom, which is an all-new design, the architecture of luxury, an appropriate name for something like Rolls Royce. Now, looking at the wheels, you can take your pick between several different wheel options. In fact, one of the things about Rolls Royce is they have plenty of bespoke options. You can customize this to your liking. These ones here are a 22-inch wheel design riding on 255/45 series tires. They offer several different 21s up to 22-inch design wheels. There's also a standard air suspension on this car that will raise and lower it up to 3 inches depending on what mode you're in. Now, this is definitely a big vehicle, but it's not quite as big as I thought it would be. Its overall length at 210.6 inches long is actually the same as something like a Lincoln Navigator, the short wheelbase Navigator. Its wheelbase is definitely one of the longest I've seen, 130 inches long. That's about 10 inches longer than what you're gonna expect from something like a Cadillac Escalade, for example. So this is a big car. It's also a very tall car, especially by Rolls-Royce standards. It's about 7 inches taller than the Phantom. So this is, again, the tallest vehicle that they've ever made because it's an SUV, which Rolls-Royce says there is an off-road mode. You could theoretically take this thing off-road in case you want to tell your chauffeur to take you out into the woods. Now, looking at the rear design of the vehicle, again, understated look with the traditional Rolls-Royce styling elements, full LED taillights, more chrome trim over here, these integrated quad outlet exhausts for the V12 engine, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Now, the cargo area, this is an SUV, so it has to have a good amount of space, right? Now, opening up, it has the same split tailgate design that you expect in something like a Range Rover, for example. And when you push the button here, of course, it's gonna be a power liftgate. My tester is missing an option that you can get on the new Black Badge Cullinan, where you have basically these two seats that pop out. There's a picnic table in the middle. These two little tailgating seats pop out that are wrapped in leather. It's just a really cool feature, and it kind of shows off to everybody, hey, I can go tailgating in my Rolls Royce. Now, looking at the cargo area, the company says you get around 21 cubic feet of space, which is pretty small. That's like a hatchback small. If you fold down the rear seats, apparently you can get about 60 cubic feet of space, which is again small, but as you can see, it's lined in leather. It's a very nice, usable amount of space. So keep that in mind. It is still an SUV, even though it doesn't offer the same amount of space you'd expect from something like a Range Rover. So most Rolls Royce owners will probably never pop the hood, but since this is a car review show, I might as well show you what's underneath the hood. This is the company's tried and true 6.75 liter. That's right, it's a 6.75 liter. Do not round it up to 6.8 V12. That's right, a 12-cylinder engine. It's the same motor that's in the flagship Rolls Royce Phantom. It makes 563 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. I actually have not driven very many 12-cylinder engines. The last one I drove was the Ghost Black Badge about 3 years ago. 12 cylinders, as you guys know, are known for their silky smoothness because it's basically two inline sixes that are merged together in a V angle. Now, the Cullinan was already designed with electrification in mind, so apparently there is a plug-in hybrid version coming, and then there's also a Black Badge version coming as well that has about 40 more horsepower than this one, as if nearly 600 horsepower wasn't already enough. Now, in case you guys are wondering about the fuel economy, although most Rolls Royce owners probably won't care, it's rated at 12 in 12 city, 20 on the highway, which actually isn't bad on the highway considering how big this thing is. It's also hit with a $2,600 gas guzzler tax, but that's chump change if you can afford a vehicle like this. Now, as this one sits, it weighs just over 6,000 pounds. So she's big and she's heavy. It all goes out through a ZF-sourced 8-speed automatic transmission. No. Don't even think to tow with your Cullinan. Who's gonna tow with their Cullinan?
They're gonna tow their safe.
So obviously the outside of a Rolls Royce is a very important part, but you're gonna be spending most of their time inside this vehicle. So let me first start off with the key fob. I have not shown you guys a Rolls Royce in a long time, and this is I guess their newer key fob. It's actually wrapped in leather. This is the same kind of accent color that's in the interior. It's not a BMW key at all. In fact, it actually looks very unique. This is the lock button over here. When you push the Rolls Royce button, of course, it locks the vehicles. The Spirit of Ecstasy, as you guys saw, disappeared. When you unlock the car, it pops back up. The mirrors fold out. So again, reminds you you're driving a very special vehicle. Now, there is actually smart key access system. So there's a bunch of buttons here on the door handles if you guys want to lock the door. There actually is an old-fashioned key slot over there as well. So again, very old school type of brand. Now, opening the door and looking at this cabin, you kind of get hit with a waft of leather and wood. It just smells expensive. It smells classy. It smells like money. That's basically what it smells like. In fact, I love this interior color option with this white leather with the kind of orangey brownish accent, this wood grain trim. There's glass, there's metal, there's real leather everywhere. There's this shiny chrome. I'm just overwhelmed with how beautiful this interior looks. Now, it's basically what I expect with a Rolls Royce. Now, the seats themselves, they're heated and cooled, they're massaging, they adjust in like 20-ish different ways. Honestly, I've probably lost count of how many ways it adjusts. And it really just makes you feel like you're special from the moment you open the door of this vehicle. Now, getting inside, first of all, because it's so high, you get inside this vehicle and it's just a really easy step in height, which is nice. And the other thing I want to talk about, $1,200 buys you this lamb wool carpet here. Or actually, it's $1,500. It is literally the plushest, softest carpet I have ever touched. So I would probably take my shoes off and rest my bare feet on these floor mats. That would be the first thing that I would do when I get into my Cullinan. Now, first of all, shutting the door itself, it's so far, I can't be bothered to actually close the door. So thankfully, there's a nice button over here. There's a button for the other side as well. Push and hold this button right here. And that closes the door for you automatically. So again, it only closes the door for you. If you want to open it, you have to actually manually open the door yourself. But hey, that is really cool. So bravo, or bonus points to Rolls Royce, because again, this is a brand that has basically no limitations for whatever they want to do. Now, getting inside the vehicle again, that Spirit of Ecstasy badge is right there front and center, which we'll talk about later on the drive. To start it up, it's like every other car, thankfully. Put your foot on the brake. The engine stop button is over here on the left side. Push that. And that 6.75 liter V12 roars to life. And there is no tachometer. Instead, there's a little needle here that says power reserve. Whenever the car's in gear and my foot goes down, the power reserve goes from 0 down to, or from 100 all the way down to 0, depending on how much of the engine's capability you're actually using. Now, looking at the rest of this cabin here, I want to talk about the materials, because in a car that costs as much as a Rolls Royce, you demand and you expect fancy materials for this type of car. And I have to say, the Rolls Royce Cullinan lives up to that. You have leather, you have metal, you have real wood, you have window switches are even accented in metal. You have these really nice, pins here for adjusting the mirrors. This here opens and closes the vents. It's like one of the sturdiest feeling components I've ever felt in a modern production car. The steering wheel is power tilt and telescoping. There is a very thin rim steering wheel, which in a Rolls Royce, you don't really care about something like that because you're not going to be really driving this car anyways. The steering wheel itself is very nice looking, a lot of piano black plastic. It doesn't share really any parts with a BMW in here. I mean, from the way the switchgear looks to the way these little pull tabs work to open and close the vents. The automatic climate control in this car is interesting because it has 4 different zones, but Rolls Royce is very weird because it looks like they don't have automatic climate control in here. Instead, they just have off, soft, medium, high, and max. I don't really understand why there's not an auto setting with an actual temperature display. You can see your temperature is controlled from this little dial over here. You can control the rear or the front passenger temperature. So again, that is definitely a unique Rolls-Royce theme here. The Spirit of Ecstasy badge is again on the actual control knob over here. This is kind of like iDrive. This is the only thing about a BMW that you're gonna see. This is basically a decontented version or recontented version of iDrive. As you can see, it is also a touchscreen. This is the first Rolls-Royce to implement an actual touchscreen in its infotainment system. It's a 12-inch display. There's also a full digital display over here, which kind of looks like an analog. There are actual rings that stay placed, but the screen itself goes away when the vehicle is turned off. This system here is perfectly fine. There is Bluetooth, obviously, but there's no Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Rolls-Royce does not do that, which it's kind of infuriating considering the price, but hey, they're Rolls-Royce. They could do whatever the hell they want. Now, putting the vehicle into reverse here, you can see there is a backup camera, a full 360 camera with parking sensors. As you can see, it's yelling at me because I'm about to run into my camera guy who's back there getting B-roll footage. The quality of the image itself is really nice. It's practically the same thing you're gonna find in a lot of modern BMW products. It offers the full 360 camera, as I said. Lots of regular hard buttons over here. There is nice little cup holders over here. Additional storage over here. It looks like that could have been an ashtray. I guess you could ask Rolls-Royce to spec that in if you really want an ashtray. Lots of actual hard buttons over here. There's no handwriting pad on this like a BMW iDrive system and no gesture controls. So again, this is a Rolls-Royce. It's not supposed to be a BMW. This is a nice padded center console area over here with some decent storage. I love the bright silver chromy trim that you get here. It's just really nice. The wood trim is also an extra $1,200. These seats are also very, very comfortable. As I said, they're heated and cooled. They offer a massaging feature. There is a nice glove box here that opens up. It's lined with felt. It's damped. I wouldn't expect anything less in a vehicle like this. And really, I'm surprised because in terms of tech, Rolls-Royce is definitely behind here in terms of tech. I mean, I do have a head-up display, but there's something about this interior that doesn't feel, something like more modern. This is more of a traditional luxury kind of feel, which is fine. It's what Rolls-Royce buyers, I'm imagining, are probably going to prefer. But if you guys are, for example, coming from like a Tesla Model X, something like that, you're gonna get into this and just be annoyed with how small the screen is, with how old school everything is in here. But then for those of you who prefer something like that, you're going to really like that. Now, obviously, the interior, the front seat is really nice, but I wanna show you guys the back seat because that's really where all the magic happens in a Rolls Royce. Tesla, Porsche. Driver! Ugh. We're late for the airport. I have to catch my flight to Milan. Hurry up. Oh. All right, so I imagine most Rolls-Royce owners are going to be sitting in the back seat of their Cullinan with a less crazy videographer chauffeur that doesn't drive so aggressively. But anyways, I thought I would show you guys what it was like from the back seat of this thing. Oh, goodness. Okay. She's a big girl, but she's fast. So anyways, back here, I couldn't find any actual specs of the legroom, but it feels like it's easily over 40 inches, which is about the same as what you'd get in something like a, full-size 4-door crew cab pickup truck like a Dodge Ram or a Ram 1500, I'm sorry. But in terms of the features, mine, the one that I'm sitting in, is actually missing a $17,000 full rear seat upgrade package that basically replaces this middle row bench seat back here with 2 captain's chairs. There's actually a glass partition that separates you from the cargo area and the actual area here. And then the center console here, when they get rid of the seat, they put a decanter, champagne flukes, actual like liquor glasses, a refrigerator back here. It's nice. So I think if you're going to buy this car, you need to pony up and get that upgraded rear seat package, because this, as this one is, I mean, sure, you could seat 5 people back here, but it doesn't really feel like a Rolls Royce, so I'm a little bit disappointed there. Now, the seat comfort back here is just really nice. I mean, I have the ability to open or basically make the Spirit of Ecstasy go away from back here if I wanted to. Mine has like the rear seat entertainment package, so if I push this button right here, this little tray table opens up, and then push this right here, a TV screen pops up over here, and I can basically control everything from the front back here, and there's this little tray table here so I can do my work. And then if you want to close this up, you push this button over here, it makes the screen go away, and then push this little button here, the tray table goes away. Now, in terms of other features, I've got heated back seats back here. I can adjust my climate control. There's USB ports here in the door. There's the USB-C dongles. There's these same vents, just like the front seats, where you have these pull type controls to actually make the airflow come in and out. Everything in here just feels nice. There's leather, there's wood, and the new Black Badge version offers a starlight headliner where you can literally see shooting stars at night when your driver's not driving like a complete asshole and going very fast. But other than that, I mean, you want to be driven in a Rolls Royce. I mean, sure, driving this thing is nice and all. It drives basically like a big tank with a silky smooth V12. But you just want to fall asleep in here and just feel special. And that's the beauty of a Rolls Royce. It is definitely a special feeling car. So even though I get to drive very, very, very fancy cars from time to time, it's not every day where you get to drive a Rolls Royce. In fact, the last Rolls Royce that I showed you guys was about 3 years ago when I was in Portland, Oregon for the very first AVA event. It was a Ghost Black Badge. And cool car, super expensive. Obviously, the Cullinan is a Rolls Royce that we thought the company would never build. It's the first ever SUV that they've ever built. So it's a big deal, and Rolls-Royce claims it shares no parts with BMW's X7. This rides on the architecture of luxury platform, as I said, and honestly, just first setting into the road with this thing, it lives up to the Rolls-Royce hype, because you know that magic carpet ride the company is always talking about? This car definitely has it. In fact, everything about this car, obviously Rolls-Royce is not sporty, but the V12 engine, just like the one that I drove 3 years ago, offers like electric motor smoothness. It's so torquey and ridiculously quick for how much this thing weighs. It weighs over 6,000 pounds, as I said. But the interesting about this car is it doesn't actually have a tach. Instead, it has this little needle that says power reserve. And every time your foot goes to the floor, it goes to the left to tell you that you're using up the reserve power. Because right now I'm not touching the throttle and it says 100% of the reserve power is available. And just driving this thing, you don't really drive it because the car glides down the road. I mean, you do drive it, or at least you hire somebody to drive it, but imperfections in the road, bumps, potholes, doesn't matter because the suspension, the air suspension just absorbs it. It uses these special cameras that constantly scans the road and adjusts the air suspension per millisecond to basically appropriate the right amount of impact absorption to the right side, and it just makes for an incredible ride quality. I mean, this is not a car company that builds sporty cars, but you can see why Rolls-Royce has the reputation it does, because the way this thing feels when you're behind the wheel just makes you feel special. I mean, the other special part is just staring down the hood of this thing, or the bonnet, like the Brits like to call it. The Spirit of Ecstasy badge that's staring at you, or that's just floating right there. It's gliding, it's flying as you drive this thing down the road. It's just insane how special this car makes you feel. Now, in case you are in a hurry and you have to tell your chauffeur to put their foot down, there's no sport mode. Instead, you just floor it. All-wheel drive comes standard on this car. Ooh. And you don't even really feel the 8-speed ZF transmission shifts. Like, it's a really weird experience driving a Rolls because it has electric motor smoothness. There's very little engine noise. And all you really feel is just a surge of torque. Now, Rolls-Royce says this SUV will get to 60 in about 5 seconds. It feels right. I mean, obviously there are faster, more exciting SUVs, but that's not the point of a Rolls-Royce. The steering of this car as well, it's very numb. It's very devoid of feel. It's very light, which is good if you actually have to drive your Rolls Royce, but that's such a chore to have to drive your Rolls Royce. Now, visibility in here is also very good. I mean, you just feel like you're driving something incredibly special. I mean, sure, you could drive something like a Lincoln Navigator, the new one, which is nice, the Bentley Bentayga, the new X7, the GLS, but nothing really feels like this Rolls does. And that's exactly why the company charges as much money as they do, because this thing feels like basically one of the most expensive cars I've ever driven. I mean, $500,000 frickin' dollars. I mean, I'm sitting here getting a massage, the seats are ventilated. The infotainment system, as I said earlier in this car, is kind of old. It doesn't even have Android Auto and CarPlay, which is a huge insult, but who really gives a crap? Because you'll be sitting in the back seat with your champagne flutes, your decanter, having some scotch back there with your refrigerator. That's really the whole point of a Rolls Royce. It's so dead whisper quiet in here. I mean, I've been driving a bunch of noisy BMWs here at Test Fest all day today, and getting in this, it just makes me want to take a nap. In fact, my camera guy's in the back seat. He probably fell asleep on me.
There's no camera for you.
Like, it's so smooth, and it's weird because floored here. Holy crap, this thing will easily get up to triple digit speeds. I wasn't going that fast. Woo! Yeah, this is definitely not based off of a BMW X7. Like, people who claim that the Cullinan is based off an X7, they're smoking crack because they haven't driven this car. It feels like a Rolls Royce every bit. Man, this car makes me feel like a rich bitch. Like, seriously. No other car makes you feel like a spoiled brat than Rolls Royce does.
You sure? No other car?
Whatever. So if you're looking for a car brand that literally is for the 1% of the world's population, Rolls Royce is it. I mean, the kind of people who buy Rolls Royces, their clientele tends to be wealthier, they tend to be well off, obviously, and they also tend to be a little bit more experienced in life in terms of their years. Unless you're just a damn celebrity, Rolls Royce is a brand that's not supposed to make changes every so often. So when they do make a big change or introduce a model like this, their first ever SUV, it better be a damn good SUV. Now, after spending the day driving the all-new Cullinan, I'm pretty happy to say that this is every bit of Rolls Royce. It lives up to the Rolls Royce name, from its magic carpet ride to its electric motor smooth V12 engine to its interior bespoke with so many customizable options. That lamb wool's carpet, I just want to rest my head on it because it's so soft, and at $1,500, it's an absolute steal. And really, this car just makes you feel special, whether you're behind the wheel or you're sitting in the back seat with those champagne flutes, the decanter, just having a sip of wine or champagne back there. This is a car that's going to constantly remind you that you've made it, or maybe you just have to work constantly in order to pay for something like this, because it is not a cheap date. In fact, Rolls Royce is the one car brand that can practically charge whatever the hell they want for any of their vehicles, which is exactly why the Cullinan starts at $325,000. That's right, I said $325,000. Now that's for a basic model. And who the hell is gonna buy a basic model of the Cullinan? Let me pull out the Monroney for this car, because there is a lot of options, but this one's also a more basic optioned model. Now, first off, the most expensive option on here is the paint. The gray paint is $11,500. I don't understand how the paint could be that expensive. The bespoke editing, which means you're basically telling the factory that you want to actually customize the order of this, that's an additional $6,000. The adaptive cruise control is actually a steal at $2,075. The park assistance, that's $875. The rear theater configuration in this one, so those two tablets in the back, $8,000 for that. The extended veneer center line, $3,300. The heated passenger surround, $2,500. The technical bespoke cloth, clock. A clock on the inside for $6,800. The uplit Spirit of Ecstasy, oh, that's $4,500. Definitely want that. The Rolls Royce monogram embossed on all the doors and the headrest, that's about $3,000. Contrasting seat piping for $4,000. Colored stitching for $2,000. Open pore black wood, oh, that's a pretty wood in there. That was like another $1,200. The picnic table is $4,000. The bespoke audio is $9,500, so almost 10 grand for the audio system, which it does sound very good. Extended veneer fascia. Honestly, there's a lot of crap on here, and they even charge $2,500 for the destination, which this thing is final assembly point is in Great Britain. So even though it's built by a German company, it's still built in Britain. Total price for this one, $409,825. Which honestly, there's actually one here at the same event that's over $430,000, and the black badge model that will be coming out later this year is probably gonna be closer to $500,000 when you actually add in all the options, because remember, it's a Rolls Royce. They can charge practically whatever the hell they want, but I would argue that there is no other car quite as special feeling as the Rolls Royce. I mean, sure, you could look at the Bentley Bentayga, which is about $200,000, probably around just under $300,000 fully loaded, but I would argue that it doesn't quite offer the exclusivity, the same magic carpet ride, the electric motor smoothness you get with this car. So again, it is every bit a Rolls Royce, and for those of you who are part of the 1% of the world's population who can afford one of these, I would be rushing over to my local Rolls Royce dealership, because this is definitely the pinnacle of luxury if you want an SUV. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2019 Rolls Royce Cullinan. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.